Democratic representative from New York, a member of the Energy and Commerce Committee and Judiciary Committee member, Anthony Weiner. Good to see you again, Anthony.
How you doing, guys?
You made news yesterday saying that you will not vote for a health care bill if President Obama continues in the direction he's going, moving away from a public option. Why?
Well, the whole reason we're all here is to try to keep down health care costs. Unless you have some kind of competition for insurance companies, that's not going to happen. You know, you guys probably know that my view is that Obama doesn't go far enough, that we should have something like Medicare for all Americans, lower administrative costs, a program we all know and understand.
Yeah.
It's not perfect, but it's something. You know, you just had Charles Grassley up there. Is there a single Republican that's committed to vote for anything? That's going to say, you know what, if we make enough compromises, maybe I'll come on board. Problem is the Obama administration seems to be negotiating against themselves. And without a public plan, it's almost worse than doing anything. I mean, because then you don't get any cost savings and you miss a great opportunity.
We heard Chairman Max Baucus in the Senate say, Finance Committee Chairman say last week that there just aren't enough votes for a public option plan. It will never sell. But you said off air, nobody's got the votes.
Well,
right
that's
now.
right. Right now, we don't have the votes for just about anything, but we were starting to assemble a rationale for why you need the insurance companies to be brought to bear. And I think the American people are starting to get that. You know, the angry town hall meetings notwithstanding, when you say to people, are the insurance companies on their own going to suddenly give up their 30% in profits and overhead? They're probably not without some competition. The problem is we need to stick to a consistent rationale here, and I'm not sure the White House has been doing that, and that's been my beef. It seems like now they backed away from their backing away, and that's good. But I don't know what's the point of negotiating with Chuck Grassley, frankly, if he says himself he can't deliver any Republicans.
Well, a lot of Democratic House members feel like they've got tire tracks over them. Just like Clinton in 93, 94 with the BTU tax.
Yeah, it's not that bad in that, to some degree, you know, we knew that this month was going to be tough. We'd have a lot of explaining to do. There are two powerful forces we're taking on. One is the status quo, you know, changing anything. There's a lot of institutional pressure to keep what we always have. But the second is the insurance lobby. You know, these guys are tough. They don't mess around, and frankly, they've done a pretty good job somehow getting people standing up at town hall meetings, defending the poor, downtrodden insurance industry. It's a pretty remarkable thing.
Anthony, you really don't believe I mean, you've seen the pictures. You don't believe these people are tools of the insurance industry, do you?
Well, I do have people standing up at town hall meetings and saying, you can't provide a strong public plan because then poor insurance companies won't be able to compete. That's a strange thing for a citizen to say. Most people don't like their insurance company.
I've never hear that, but I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure it could be happening out there. But again, you see all of these people
let me ask you,
going.
why are people against the public plan?
Because they've seen over the past 6 months government grow, they believe, at too rapid of a rate, and they're skeptical. I don't think there's been an explanation of how the government plan is not equal to the government takeover of healthcare, which we all know it's not a government takeover of healthcare. But that's how it sounds
right.
to people.
But I have heard people say repeatedly, well, if the public option is too muscular, the insurance companies won't be able to compete. Well, if they can't compete, then they're not going to get customers. They're not going to get patients coming to them. Isn't that what we want, to give people that choice? And look, the problem that we have here is we're trying to jerry-rig this system so that insurance companies still continue to make healthy profits. Why? What is an insurance company? They don't do a single checkup. They don't do a single exam. They don't perform an operation. Medicare has a 4% overhead rate. Insurance companies take about $230 billion out of the system every year in profits and overhead. The real question is why we have a private plan. And now if the president's going to walk away from
but now you're sounding like you want the government to take over. You say, why do we have insurance companies in the healthcare business? Because we are a country that is, we believe in free enterprise, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, tell that to people who get Medicare. They have a government-run plan, and they like it quite a bit, so much so that people come to town hall meetings and say, don't touch my Medicare.
That's fine. But hold on a second. I know everybody on the left, and I'm not saying you're on the left, the middle, whatever, but Democrats love to say, well, if you're for Medicare, you can't be against a total takeover of healthcare. That's like saying, because we have Social Security, we can't have pension plans.
Wait, I understand. When you say total takeover, we're not taking over the doctors of the hospital.
You just asked, though, Anthony, why in the world
what is the value
of insurance companies that make
what's
profits?
the value? What are they providing?
Well, what's the value of Wall Street companies making
No.
money?
Well, this is a different thing. This is not providing essentially a government service. Look, 40% of all Americans get their health care from a single payer, government-funded, government-administered plan. Medicare, Medicaid, Department of Defense, Department of Veterans Affairs, and Department of Indian Affairs. 40%. So they have a pretty good experience of a low overhead thing. Now, overhead. When I'm not here to advocate for the profits of insurance companies, I'm here to advocate for health care.
Well, it sounds like you think there is no need for us to have private insurance, health insurance.
Well, I've asked you 3 times, what is their value? What are they bringing to the deal? What is insurance companies bringing to the deal here?
Again, I'm.
What are we getting for the 30% overhead?
I'm astounded by your question because your question is suggesting that there is no need to have a country that's run on free market principles.
Let's focus on one thing at a time. Let's focus on one thing at a time.
You're talking about,
but this isn't a commodity, Joe. This is healthcare, not a commodity.
You're saying healthcare is different than everything else.
Healthcare's not a commodity.
So
if I tell you tomorrow,
you are making the conservatives' point. You are making the point at the town hall meetings that say this is Barack Obama's opportunity to get rid of healthcare and turn it completely over to the federal government. And so I'm sitting here stunned, listening and saying, "Oh my God, you're making the point of the healthcare."
In fairness, Barack Obama doesn't want to do what I want to do. There's going to be a vote on my plan. But I got to tell you something. We've got to answer the question that you have tripped over 3 times now.
No, I haven't tripped over it. My job is not to answer your questions. I am sitting here, though, dumbfounded that you are actually playing into the protesters' hands.
No, hold on a second. Barack Obama does not want to do the Weiner plan. I wish he was. We're going to have a chance to vote on mine. I might have more votes than his plan does.
Okay.
Because a lot of people believe that Medicare, if you say to a 50-year-old laid-off guy, 50, you're going to get Medicare.
Yeah.
He's going to be pretty darn happy. Because he can't get private insurance for anything affordable. Medicare doesn't have to go advertise. They don't have to put profits into administration.
Okay.
And Joe, I ask you a question. What are health insurance plans doing to produce health care? Just tell me. Health insurance companies.
Again, the question, I don't even understand the question other than it's you trying to make the point that we don't need private industry involved in healthcare at all. You were advocating with us today a complete takeover,
Medicare for all Americans. Medicare for all Americans.
Government.
Only if you think Medicare is a government takeover. Do you?
Well, government. Yeah.
For 65 and over, is that a government takeover?
You're going to have to let me answer the question.
Fine.
We'll be right back, and I'll answer the question if Anthony will let me when we return.
Welcome back to Morning Joe. Coming up on the top of the hour at 8 o'clock here on the East Coast, about 5 a.m. out west from the Jam Cam in Los Angeles. Let's go to Dallas, Texas. Big D as the sun comes up there, sweeping through the gateway to the west, St. Louis, and then back to the East Coast here, Washington, D.C. Looks like another sweltering day up here in the Northeast. Boston, where the Red Sox have fallen 7 games behind the New York Yankees.
I want to go to a game.
And here it is. New York City. Looking good, New York, the home of Congressman Anthony Weiner. Our conversation with him continues.
And I cracked the code. So, Anthony, I didn't really know what you were getting at, but we figured it out over the break. You actually do want the federal government to take over all of health care.
When you say take over, only in as much as the federal government took over health care for senior citizens 44 years ago.
But you want to expand that for all Americans.
Correct. I want Medicare for all Americans. So they get a 4% overhead. They get efficient reimbursements. Okay. There's no profits being taken by the insurance company. It goes all back to health care, to patients, to taxpayers.
So a couple quick points. Like I said, your position, not President Obama's position.
That's right, unfortunately.
Your position is what's scaring a lot of Americans. Let me finish, because this isn't an attack, but I'm saying those people that are showing up saying the federal government wants to take over all of health care, those people are scared of your position. I would guess, though, the second point would be that President Obama would not want your position to be seen as the Democratic position, right?
Not seen as his position. The president,
not as his position.
Look, the president's position of a public option, or it was that, I don't know what it is today, is better than nothing. But the fact of the matter is, if you think that Medicare is no good, and maybe you're not going to take when you reach 65, a lot of people think that Medicare...
Anthony, let me assure you, I'm not going to make it to 65, brother. The way I eat...
Also, when you get elbows in your ribs every morning so hard, I'm not sure you're going to make it.
I spit up blood by 10 o'clock. It's awful.